welcome back to my channel for another lesson on Romeo and Juliet. Today we are going to be reviewing Act 3, Scene 3. So, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna go ahead and read like always, and then as we go through the scene, I will be pausing to go ahead and analyze what's going on, okay? So in Act 2, we see that Juliet and Nurse are having a conversation because we know that Romeo killed Tybalt, and his punishment is that he needs to be banished from Verona, okay? And Juliet didn't know this at the beginning of Scene 2, and she ends up finding out, and she kind of talks bad on his name, and then she realizes, you know what, he's alive. I should be thankful that my husband is alive and not dead, and so what, and so on and so forth. So in Scene 3, we get to learn a little bit more about what's going to happen with Romeo. We know that he's banished from Verona. We know he can't go back to the town. So what is he gonna do? Because he is married to Juliet, so they have to see each other somehow, okay? So remember that at the end of Scene 2, Juliet did tell Nurse to put the rope at her room so that Romeo can come, and Nurse was gonna go find Romeo to let him know that she's waiting for him, okay? So let's go ahead and see what happens. I'll start reading. Romeo, come forth, thou fearful man. Affliction is enamored of thy parts, and thou art wedded to calamity. Father, what news? What is the prince's doom? What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand that I yet know not? Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company. I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom. What less than doomsday is the prince's doom? A gentler judgment vanished from his lips. Not body's death, but body's banishment. Ha? Banishment? Be merciful, say death. For exile hath more terror in his look, much more than death. Do not say banishment. Here from Verona art thou banished. Be patient, for the world is broad and wide. There is no world without Verona, walls but purgatory, torture, hell itself. Hence banished is banished from the world, and world's exile is death. Then banished, is death mistermed? Calling death banished? Thou cutt'st my head off with a golden axe, and smilest upon the stroke that murders me. O deadly sin, O rude unthankfulness, thy fault our law sells death, but the kind prince, taking thy part, hath rushed aside the law, and turns that blackward death to banishment. This is dear mercy, and thou seest it not. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stop there and find out what's happening so far. So we see that Friar Lawrence and Romeo are going to open up the scene. And Friar Lawrence is telling Romeo that he is banished from Verona. That means he's not allowed to come back to the town. He kind of needs to move elsewhere, okay? Now Romeo is being very, how do I say this? Dumb. Because he thinks that death should have happened instead of banishment. And he's kind of comparing the two. Now, please think about this carefully. If you were banished from Miami, let's say, and you had to go live in Orlando, I would much rather live in Orlando than die, okay? And Romeo is not understanding that. He's kind of like, what do you mean banished? Like, you might as well just kill me type thing. And Friar Lawrence is like, you are absolutely crazy. You need to understand that banishment is not that bad, okay? So that's what's happening so far. 'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing, live here in heaven and may look on her. But Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable states, more courtship lives, in carrion flies than Romeo. They may seize on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hands and steal immortal blessing from her lips, who even in pure and vestal modesty still blush as thinking their own kisses sin. But Romeo may not, he is banished. Flies may do this, but I from this must fly. They are free men, but I am banished. And sayest thou yet that exile is not death? Hast thou no poison mixed, no sharp ground knife, no sudden mean of death, though never so mean, but banished to kill me? Banished? O friar, the damned use that word in hell. Howling attends it. How hast thou the heart, being a divine and ghostly confessor, a sin absolver, and my friend professed, to mangle me with the word banished? Thou fond madman, hear me a little speak. Oh, thou wilt speak again of banishment. I'll give thee armor to keep off that word, adversity's sweet milk philosophy to comfort thee, thou art banished. Yet banished, hang up philosophy, unless philosophy can make a Juliet displant a town, reverse a prince's doom. It helps not, it prevails not, talk no more. Oh, then I see that madmen have no ears. How should they, when that wise men have no eyes? Let me dispute with thee of thy estate. Thou canst not speak of that thou dost not feel. Wert thou as young as I, Juliet thy love, an hour but married, Tybalt murdered, doting like me, and like me banished, then mightest thou speak, then mightest thou tear thy hair, and fall upon the ground as I do now, taking the measure of an unmade grave. So somebody starts knocking the door, and Friar Lawrence says, Arise, one knocks. Good Romeo, hide thyself. Not I, unless the breath of heartsick groans, mist-like enfold me from the search of eyes. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stop there and start analyzing this section as well. So like I said before, Romeo's not having this situation of him being banished, and he still doesn't get it. Friar Lawrence is like, dude, can you just get over it? Like, it's banishment, it's not that bad, you will live, it's so much better than death. And Romeo is like, no dude, I don't get to see Juliet in Verona. Like, this is terrible, please stop talking about banishment. And he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Now someone starts to knock the door, and Friar Lawrence is like, Romeo, you need to hide, because remember, if Romeo is found in Verona, he's going to be put to death. He's not allowed in the town, he's not supposed to be there. So his punishment is going to be even worse if they find him in Verona. Okay, so Friar Lawrence is warning him, you need to hide, and Romeo says, I don't care. What are they gonna do? Kill me? Let them kill me. So he clearly does not care about his punishment. He really thinks death is better than banishment. Hark, how they knock. Who's there? Romeo, arise. Thou wilt be taken. Stay a while. Stand up. Run to my study. By and by, God's will. What simpleness is this? I come, I come. Who knocks so hard? Whence come you? What's your will? Now it's nurse that's knocking. Let me come in, and you shall know my errand. I come from Lady Juliet. Welcome then. So nurse is here, and Friar Lawrence lets her in, okay? So let's see what nurse has to say, because we obviously know that she's there because of Juliet. Oh, holy friar, oh tell me, holy friar, where's my lady's lord? Where's Romeo? There on the ground, with his own tears made drunk. Oh, he is even in my mistress's case, just in her case. Oh, woeful sympathy, piteous predicament. Even so lies she, blubbering and weeping and blubbering. Stand up, stand and you be a man. For Juliet's sake, for her sake, rise and stand. Why should you fall into so deep an oh? Nurse. Ah, sir, death's the end of it all. Spakest thou of Juliet? How is it with her? Doth not she think me an old murderer? Now I have stained the childhood of our joy, with blood removed but little from her own. Where is she, and how does she? And what says my concealed lady to our cancelled love? Oh, she says nothing, sir, but weeps, and now falls on her bed, and then starts up, and Tybalt calls, and then on Romeo cries, and then down falls again. As if that name, shot from the deadly level of a gun, did murder her, as that name's cursed hand murdered her kinsmen. Oh, tell me, friar, tell me, in what vile part of this anatomy doth my name lodge? Tell me, that I may sack the hateful mansion. So let's go ahead and stop there, and let's analyze what's going on so far. So nurse comes in, and nurse is like, where's Romeo? Because I need to find out what's happening with him. And she finds Romeo crying on the floor, and she's like, can you please man up? You need to man up, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for Juliet. You need to stand up and stop crying. And we find out that Juliet has been doing the same thing. She's in her bed crying for Tybalt, crying for Romeo, and she's just a whole mess. So nurse is not with this whole fiesta of crying. She's like, y'all need to stop this and get to it, because you guys wanted to do this, now you need to get over it, okay? So nurse is a very strong character in this situation. So now we're going to have Friar Lawrence give a monologue, which is going to be a very long speech, so let's see what he has to say. Hold thy desperate hands, art thou a man? Thy form cries out thou art. Thy tears are womanish, thy wild acts denote the unreasonable fury of a beast, unseemly woman in a seeming man, an ill-beseeming beast in seeming both. Thou hast amazed me by my holy order. I thought thy disposition better tempered. Hast thou slain Tybalt? Wilt thou slay thyself, and slay thy lady in thy lives? By doing damned hate upon thyself? Why railest thou on thy birth, the heaven and earth, since birth and heaven on earth all three do meet in thee at once, which thou at once wouldst lose? Fie, thou shamest thy shape, thy love, thy wit, which like a usurer, aboundest in awe, and usest none in that true use indeed, which should bedeck thy shape, thy love, thy wit. Thy noble shape is but a form of wax, digressing from the valor of a man. From the valor of a man. Thy dear love sworn, but hollow perjury, killing that love which thou hast vowed to cherish. Thy wit, that ornament to shape and love, misshapen in the conduct of them both, like powder in a skillless soldier's flask, is set afire by thine own ignorance, and thou dismembered with thine own defense. What roused thee, man? Thy Juliet is alive, for whose dear sake thou wast but lately dead. Art thou happy, Tybalt will kill thee, but thou slewest Tybalt, there art thou happy. The law that threatened death becomes thy friend, and turns it to exile, there art thou happy. A pack of blessings light upon thy back, happiness courts thee in her best array, but like a misbehaved and sullen wench, thou pouts upon thy fortune and thy love. Take heed, for such die miserable. Go get thee to thy love, as was decreed. Ascend her chamber, hence and comfort her. But look thou stay not till the watch be set, for then thou canst not pass to Mantua, where thou shalt live till we can find a time to blaze your marriage, reconcile your friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back with 20,000 times more joy than thou wentst forth in lamentation. Go before nurse, commend me to thy lady, and bid her hasten all to the house bed, which heavy sorrow makes them apt unto. Romeo is coming. So basically, Friar Lawrence is saying what he's always said since the beginning. Listen, you have a very lucky life, and you need to be grateful for the life that you have right now. First of all, Romeo was not supposed to marry Juliet. They are enemies, and he got to marry Juliet. So that is one thing that he needs to be very grateful for, because this wouldn't have happened without Friar Lawrence. This wouldn't have happened in millions of years if it wasn't for his luck, okay? Luckily, Juliet did not care that he was a Montague, and he got married to her. Another thing that he needs to be very grateful for is, if you were killing somebody in a fight, Prince was going to kill you. That was his punishment. Death was his punishment. Romeo got super lucky once again, and his punishment is not death. It's just banishment from the town, okay? So it's not that bad. So Friar Lawrence is basically giving a whole speech on how he needs to be grateful, how he is allowed to go to another town and have Juliet there. And, you know, if he begs for forgiveness to the prince, maybe one day they can come back and celebrate their marriage and whatnot. So that's what this whole speech and his monologue is about, okay? So let's see what they say next. Oh Lord, I could have stayed here all the night to hear good counsel. Oh, what learning is. My lord, I'll tell my lady you will come. Do so, and bid my sweet prepare to chide. Here, sir, a ring she bid me give you, sir. Hie you, make haste, for it grows very late. How well my comfort is revived by this. Go hence, good night, and here stand all your state. Either be gone before the watch be set, or by the break of day disguised from hence. Sojourn in Mantua. I'll find out your man, and he shall signify from time to time every good hap to you that chances here. Give me thy hand this late. Farewell, good night. But that a joy past joy calls out on me. It were a grief so brief to part with thee. Farewell. So at the end of Act 3, Scene 3, we see that Romeo does want to go see Juliet at the house, and he tells Nurse to tell Juliet that he's coming, okay? And Friar Lawrence is like, you know what? Go see her, but you need to get out of this town before people realize that you are still in Verona. So he tells him that he's gonna go live in Mantua for a little bit until, you know, things get better, okay? So that is Act 3, Scene 3. I hope you guys read and analyzed it along with me. I hope you guys understood. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and message me, and I will see you for our next lesson.